So this webinar is going to be a little more advanced than some of the previous webinars. We're going to go over the main feature of Varsity Learning, that is the assessment engine, and show you the pre-built homework assignments, how to turn these into quizzes and tests. So that's what we're going to cover today. It should take 20-25 minutes. Hope to have some time at the end to answer any questions that come up. Okay. So Varsity Learning, it's a learning platform, online homework system, very flexible. We have pre-built templates from pre-algebra through calculus. These do not include an ebook. These include videos, course notes, and pre-built homework assignments. Earlier this spring, we became partners with OpenStax. OpenStax publishes textbooks for a number of high enrollment college courses, and we are partners on their math list. So the templates for the OpenStax books include their ebook. So these are complete courses, including a textbook. You're welcome to mix and match these templates as you create your own course to have it best suit your needs. So let's take a look into Varsity Learning. If anybody doesn't have an account, feel free to sign into your account. I'm sorry, if you have an account, feel free to sign in. I'm going to create a course, and you're welcome to enroll in that course as a student to kind of see from a student's point of view. First, I'm just going to point out, once you register as an instructor, we'll enroll you in the Varsity Learning Support course. Here we have how-to guides on how to do everything that we cover in these webinar series, printed guides. We have some forums where we can discuss how to do this so everybody sees it. And then we have some really good worksheets for you to use in class as well. So just regular pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2 worksheets. So those are right there. All right, so I've logged into Varsity Learning as a teacher. I want to create a new course. So I'm going to click Add a New Course. And I'm going to copy a template course. And in this case, I think we're going to go with the Algebra 1 template. I'm going to click Continue. I'm just going to name this with today's date, 6/23, Algebra 1, 2020. Now, after I click Submit, the system's going to generate a course ID. So if you're playing along at home and like to enroll in my course, you're going to click Add a New Course, and you're going to enter 6473. It's going to look like this. Let's see what these dates look like. I'm going to change the dates really quick for anybody that's logging in so you can see this. So I went to Mass Change Date. I covered this in a different webinar, so I'm going fast here. But I'm changing these dates so these assignments are available to everybody that happens to be logging in now so they can see them. Okay, so here's our calendar. I'm going to get rid of the calendar right now. Delete this. Okay, so this is a Varsity Learning course. I'm looking at this as a teacher. We see our list of topics here. Pre-algebra review, topic B, real numbers, topic C, linear equations and inequalities in one variable, and so on and so forth. So each of these topics we can open just by clicking on the title, and each of these topics are in what we call a block. And now the blocks open, we see the course notes here, so some vocabulary for this topic, some properties, formulas, and then there's a video lesson. Video lessons are great. You can play these in class. Students have access to these. You can add any other video that's located on YouTube and put the link right in here as we've done for you. So this is a pre-built template. The idea is that you will take this and create your own material from it. You're welcome to use everything we have here to get yourself started. But once you copy it into your course, it's available for you to change as you want for yourself or your department. Okay, so each of these assignments is an online homework assignment. So topic B2. So if I click on an online homework assignment, I get a problem here. So we can work this problem, enter an answer, click submit, get it wrong. The default for the Varsity Learning assignments is 3 attempts. So I'm going to get this wrong again. So I've used 2 of my attempts. After the 3rd incorrect attempt, the system is going to show the student the correct answer. And then we can click the button here, try another similar question. So this is the whole point of Varsity Learning, the algorithmic engine here. So when I click try another similar question, the system's going to generate a new question. Now we can go in and answer it hopefully correctly this time. Now the student would get full credit for this. We're not penalizing them for taking more than a number of attempts. The score is going to go right into the gradebook, and the teachers are going to be able to have that information available in the gradebook right away. So that's kind of the heart of Varsity Learning, these pre-built assignments. This is a homework assignment. You can see there's 20 questions here. Most of them are these algorithmic type questions. You get a feel for it. And in this webinar, we're going to go over how to customize these as well. From the gradebook, we have a few people signed in. Interesting, passed and attempted. So if you're looking at these assignments as a student, you're welcome to click on any of them. As soon as somebody clicks on something, we'd be able to see it in the gradebook and see how they're doing. Not a big webinar on the gradebook, but I do want to go into settings here. It shows that the gradebook is going to be set up by category weights. So I want online homework to be worth 50%. I'm going to add a new category. I'm going to call this one quizzes. We'll make quizzes worth 25%. Add a new category. Make tests worth 25%. You can see we can drop a number of low scores at the end of the semester if you want. I'm going to save these changes. And so now we have those 3 categories. Okay. So how are these assignments built? Well, we've built them for you. And that doesn't mean you can't customize them. So this gear icon to the right is the main way to customize any of the features in Varsity. So the 2 biggest parts of creating a new course, or I'm sorry, 2 biggest parts of customizing an assignment are customizing the questions and the settings. So just to look at the settings for the first time, so as a teacher, you're able to go in and edit any of the class notes we have, including the videos. As we scroll down, you can have specific instructions for that assignment. You can set the due date for this specific assignment as well. And now these are the main homework settings. Display method, skip around. This just means that students can work these problems in any order. Feedback method, homework. We're going to go over this in some detail. Basically, this is a drop-down menu. The first item, no score shown. This is the most restrictive. As we scroll down, homework, this is the least restrictive, and this is a homework assignment. So this is where we get that feature, 3 attempts. After the 3rd attempt, the student is shown the correct answer after the last attempt. So if I was to change this to 4, they should be shown the correct answer after the 4th attempt. So these settings work in conjunction with each other. So let's keep this at 3. And the gradebook category is also important. This means this assignment is going to be scored in the online homework category in the gradebook. Additional display, I think before I deleted it, you can see the calendar, and so the calendar icon just indicates the name of the assignment. Every student gets a different version of these questions. If you don't want that, checking these boxes, the same random seed is going to have everybody get the same version of the question. That's not one of the main features, but you can do that. Late pass, we're going to allow late passes, time limit, a password. Passwords are great, particularly teaching for high school. You can set up an assignment or a test or a quiz. Set a password so students can't access it the night before. You get to class and then you tell your students the password. And then they can start the assignment if you're in a computer lab. You can also set a time limit as well. Help and hints. We want to turn these on. We have the forums. We discussed the forums in some detail in another webinar and some more. So I'm just going to save this in here. Okay. All right. So that is kind of the basics of the settings for the homework assignments. The second part of modifying these assignments is the questions themselves. So I'm going to click questions. And now we see that we have a list of questions here. Some of these have written examples with them. We can preview these questions. It's going to show us what type of question it is. Get a lot of information here. As the instructor, you can see the answer in this view, and then you can submit and regen. A regen is the system regenerating a new problem with the same attributes. So it's still a reduce, it's going to have the same instructions. So you can see a problem like this, there's not unlimited regens, there's just the regens that make sense. So you can play with this button and kind of see the answers and such. Okay, so this has already been attempted. I could clear everybody's attempts. I don't want to do that right now. So let me see if I can go to an assignment that we haven't done. So operations with decimals, go to questions here. Okay, so nobody's attempted this yet. So here are the 20 questions in the assignment. You're welcome to remove any of these questions you want here. You could change the point value as well. You can see the screen is rather large. The top half of the screen are the problems already in the assignment. The bottom half of the screen are the potential problems for this assignment. So you can see if under this times used column, some of these questions are not in here, so you could add these questions as well. You could preview them. Maybe I like this question, I'm going to mark it for use. And then I can just use the preview and next button here to find questions that I'd like to use in the assignment. Kind of get an idea of all the questions. Once I check the box here, it also gets checked here. Close this. Now I'm going to add these using defaults. So I've just added these two questions to this homework assignment. Now I can click done. Okay. All right, so that's a homework assignment. So maybe we want to have a quiz. So quiz, we want the settings to be a little bit less restrictive. At the end of each of these topics, there's a topic review. These are great to use just as a review. You don't have to use them. In this case, I'm going to make a copy of this. The copy feature here seems pretty simple, but it's a great way to copy something where you already understand the settings and you want to make the changes. So I made a copy of the topic B review. Or did I make a copy of the topic A review? I made a copy of the topic A review. Okay, so there's my copy. Now we need two parts to this. We want to change the questions and we want to change the settings. So first I'm going to go to settings. Let's make this a topic A quiz. Or how about we'll just call this quiz 1. Quiz 1. Or you could write whatever you want. All right, so we're in the settings mode here. These are available right now, so I am going to hide this so people can't go in and start this as I'm working on it. I'm going to save it real quick so that probably kicked anybody out that was in there. So quiz 1, I saved it. It saved the name. It's hidden. So if you're logged in as a student, you can't see this right now. And if you're looking at these other topics, these don't open for a while. So I don't think you have all the other topics available. Maybe I'll change that real quick so you can look at them as a student. So I'm going to change the dates real quick. I'm just going to make everything end date always go. Dates all show. Start date always go. So if you're a student, if you click refresh, you'll be able to see all the topics. Now I do have to go back and, okay, quiz 1 is still hidden. I had that hidden. So I'm working on quiz 1. All right, so I'm going to continue with the settings for quiz 1. So the settings here are really the only thing that are going to distinguish this assignment as a quiz from a homework. Display method, skip around. This means that every time they work a problem, they're going to click that submit button, and they're not going to be able to go back and review it like they are in homework. So this is fine. Students are familiar with this. A lot of people like the full test at once. So that way they get to answer all the questions on one screen and then click submit right at the end. This isn't going to be great if students are doing this on their cell phone though. So just for a little variety, I'm going to change the display method to full test at once. Feedback method, I'm going to show the score on each question at the end of the test, or I can re-show the question with the score. So this is a little bit more information. Again, the way these work is this is the most restrictive. Students get very little information here. This is the least restrictive. Students get the answer after they attempt it 3 times. So I'm going to let them see the question and then show them their score on that question at the end of the test. The attempts per question, I'm just going to keep this at 1. This box here, reattempt different versions. This will make it really hard. Don't recommend using this until you've experienced with Varsity Learning. I made that mistake when I started out, but keep these attempts at 1 for a quiz, and then don't let them reattempt. And let's not give them a penalty. We're going to show them the answers after the due date in the gradebook. So they'll still be able to see the answers, but not right away. They're going to have to wait until the due date, just like a regular quiz, right? Now the gradebook category, if you remember at the start of the webinar, we went into the gradebook and we created some categories. Well, those are going to be reflected in this drop-down. So in addition to online homework, we can do quizzes and tests. So we want quiz 1 to be scored in the quizzes category. Makes sense? But that wouldn't show up automatically. You have to go in and change that setting in the gradebook first. So we've done that. All right, additional display options. Okay, the pesky calendar icon. Remember, we copied this from the topic A review. So the calendar icon also got copied. So, but we want this to be quiz 1 on the calendar icon. Same random seed. We don't want anything there. Time limit. Let's set a 30-minute time limit. And we're going to kick the students out after the time limit. That's key. If you don't kick them out, they can keep working on it. And you just see in the gradebook that they took an extra 6 minutes or 10 minutes to do this quiz. But we want them actually kicked out at that time. Password, you could set a password. Again, this is great if you set your quizzes up and you know you have time in the lab the next day in school. You're going to go into the lab, you're not quite sure what time, so you don't need to set the time exactly. You just set a password. You take roll, you do your normal business at the start of the period. When everybody's settled and it's time to give the quiz, then you can write the password on the board and students can access it. So we have a lot of schools where students go in for a proctored exam where it's not the teacher in there, but then the proctor knows what the password is. So students can't access it until they have the password. Okay. Help and hints. We're going to make sure these are off. So this is off. We don't want the post this question to a forum link on as well. Grading and feedback. We do want this to count in the gradebook. You have a choice here though. You can count this as extra credit. Maybe it's extra credit quiz. You can see it in the grade total, but hide it from students. But we just want this to be a regular quiz we count. Okay. And it's not a group assessment. Everybody does their own work, gets their own score. We're going to save this. Okay, so we've done half the work for this new quiz. We have done the settings. Now, by the way, those settings are saved. So if we want to do a quiz 2 in a different topic, we can just now grab those settings from quiz 1, change the title to quiz 2, change the calendar icon, and then change the questions. But now once you have those settings, you can copy those. So that's done. You just have to do that once. Now choosing the questions. So this is the fun part. There are over 100,000 questions in Varsity Learning that you have access to. We want to start this quiz from scratch, so we're going to remove everything in here. Remember, this is just the chapter review. And we can select these from the library or from the existing assessments. So this is a big choice. The libraries are going to open up everything in Varsity Learning. If you're a beginner, you probably don't want this right away. It's going to be too many questions to look through. The idea is that if there's an assignment already in this course, you're going to want to use that for your quiz. So if this is a quiz on topic A, let's say we want a quiz on the last 4 sections in topic A. Okay, so I'm going to check those 4 assignments. And it says use these assessments. So this is going to have the system bring up all the questions in all 4 of those assignments in this screen. So this is the same screen we were looking at previously. The top half, there's no questions currently in the assessment. I can pick them. So I'm going to click preview on the first one. Here's a great vocab question, but not a great quiz question. I'm going to skip it. I like this question. Here's some, I don't like too many multiple choice. This looks like a good one. And kind of scroll through here. So I can see if I'm doing a quiz, I probably know I want 10 questions or 15 questions on the quiz. The system is keeping track of how many questions I've checked. It's telling me how many I have remaining as I click next. I hope everybody can see that. So a lot of different types of questions here. Maybe I like that one. Okay. Whenever you see the vocab, you know you want on to the next section. I don't like that vocab. I like this one. And so this is just a matter of clicking the previous and next button to find questions that you like for your quiz. I'm not going to spend too much more time on here. It's going to show you some of the options. Every time I check the box here, it checks the box in the other screen, though. I hope you can see that. Nice word problem. Hope it's not out of date. Okay, next section. Dreaded percent problems. All right, there's 10 questions. So I want a 10-question quiz. I have 10 checks over here on this screen. Now I need to add these selected using defaults. So the defaults, these are the settings that we set previously. So these are each going to be worth 1 point. I don't want a 10-point quiz. I want a 50-point quiz. So I'm going to make these all worth 5 points. It's going to be a 50-point quiz. You see the total here. Click done. Now I've set my questions. I have the settings, and it is still hidden. So I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to go back to settings. It says show hide. I'm going to show by dates. Those dates are good. It's going to be available right now. So if you're logged in as a student, probably need to refresh your browser for that quiz to become available. If I click on the calendar, I put a calendar back here. Oh, I made it available always. So you can scroll down. Let's see what my dates are for the quiz. It's available always. So I'm going to change these from always to these dates. I'm going to save it, and now it shows up on the calendar. So there's quiz 1. When I click on this as a student, it says this assessment has a time limit. Click OK to start. So once the student starts, remember we set this for 30 minutes? There's 30-minute timer right here. It's counting down. This is going to be the student's name, not my name. Remember, we set this to display all questions at once. Okay, so I can go in and answer these questions. And then at the very bottom, and these tips are important. They look a little bit annoying, I understand, but this is literally how the students are supposed to answer the question. So enter your answer as a fraction. So if they do a decimal problem or a percent problem on their calculator, unless their calculator is going to give them the fraction, they're not going to get it right. They need to enter a fraction here. So these are purposely specific. Now the system would understand a decimal, but we've programmed it for these lower level problems to make sure that if we want a fraction answer, we get a fraction. If we want a decimal answer, it requires a decimal. So it's important that they understand how those tips are used. Now, if I save my answers, this is great. It's auto-saved. The time limit will continue. So if they were on a faulty internet connection or they thought there was going to be a power outage, it's good to save the work, especially if this was a long quiz, take an hour. It's a good practice to save it, but that does not stop the clock. The clock keeps going. Return to assessment. Now they can continue to work this. Okay. So we made this assessment into a quiz. We took it from topics that are already in Varsity Learning. The assumption is that you're going to first go through and create your homework assignments and make sure the problems in your homework assignments are problems you want your students to know. So then when you create your quiz or tests, you've already gone through all those homeworks and you just pick those homework problems for your quiz problems. Now you're going to change the settings so they only get 1 attempt instead of 3 attempts. And because Varsity Learning is an algorithmic engine, the students aren't going to get the same version of that question they got as a homework assignment. It's not guaranteed, but it's very probable. It's very unlikely they would get the same questions in homework as they get for the quizzes. That's just how the system's set up. We can go to the gradebook now, see how our students are doing. Got a little bit going here. Topic A, so we can click on Sylvia's question. So she's answered the vocab. We can see the time on task here, how long it took the student to submit it, their score in each part of it, and whether or not they answered other questions. As a teacher, this is the gradebook again, so you can see the answer. If the student enters something you think is correct, you can click Show Answer. If there's a detailed solution here, the students also should have access to this, so they can see the detailed solution right away as well if they click that button. If a student starts this and they need to clear it, for example, they started that quiz, they click Start, it's 30 minutes, they forgot about it, they email you or something, you needed to clear it, you can clear it right in the gradebook. Now this isn't the quiz, this is the homework assignment. So you can clear it, you can just clear their scores and they get the same version of the question. Clear attempt is going to reset the quiz so the system generates completely new versions of every question. So clear attempt, everything gets reset. Clear scores just clears their scores, but the same version of the question. Print version, this is good. It's going to create a PDF version of this that you can send to the student or view yourself. So that was kind of a lot. I'd love to open it up for questions now. You can just shout them out, type them in the chat, whatever you'd like.
Hi, Patrick. Quick question. If after you set up a course and you really aren't satisfied with the setup, is it possible to delete a whole course and start all over?
It's absolutely possible to start all over. So I have a whole bunch of courses here. I just keep hiding them. I don't want to look at them. So this is the course I did right now. So you can just hide a course. Once the system creates a course ID, that's the course ID. So you don't want to necessarily, you could delete it here if you want, but completely reasonable to create a course, play with it, realize you've learned a lot from that setup, but this isn't anything you want to enroll your students in, just create a new course and start over with what you've learned. So it's absolutely fine to create a course with the intention of not ever enrolling students in that course, just to play with it yourself and not worry about the setup. Then when you're ready, come back here, click add a new course, and then have the intention of adding students to that course. If this is a course that you set up and by chance you gave the course ID to your students, you want to keep them from enrolling, you go to course settings. I can change my course name here, availability and access. I just uncheck this box, available to students, and that will keep students from enrolling in this course.
Because I have some old courses that I set up back
Yep.
in 2014, and they're still on my screen. I was wondering how I would get rid of them, but I understand your explanation there. Thank you.
Yeah, from this gear icon, and welcome back, by the way. From the gear icon, just delete them here or hide them, whatever you want.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Is it possible to set different times on these quizzes for different kids? Like if we have kids that have time and a half on their tests rather than the normal time, or does everyone get the same amount of time?
Great question, thank you. So the question was, this is a quiz that has a 30-minute time limit. Some kids require more time than everybody else. So we call that the time limit multiplier. I'm going to go into the roster. I'm going to check Sylvia's name, and right here, time limit multiplier. I do a 1.5, 1.5. So now this student will get 45 minutes for a 30-minute test. So that's time limit multiplier, and from the roster, click the student's name, and now that student has extra time. By the way, so now you can also see that little timer thing, that icon next to the student's name. Also great for you're in class in a lab, students don't know their email address. Oops. And you can click on that info and change their password and make sure they have their email address typed in correctly.